So Chrissy, you've got your clients and they've made their big list of must-haves, they've made their list of want-to-haves, and now they're wondering about, hey, should I get a brand new build or should I get an existing home? Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of that. Really interested in your perspective.
Yeah, there is pros and cons to both. Okay. So getting an existing home, you're not going to have to put in a yard. You're probably not going to have to put up new blinds. You're probably not going to have to put in a lot of things that do cost a lot of money when you purchase a new build. You're already paying for this huge new mortgage and also sprinkler systems, yard, all
Sprinkler
of this.
systems snuck up on us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And it goes a lot fast, especially with inflation lately. Like for us to put in our yard by ourselves like 20 something years ago was $5,000 and that felt like a lot. Well, now you're looking at, I think Darren got a bid on a home that he was thinking about purchasing and it was $30,000.
Wow.
For a minimal yard, right? So those are things, that's a con, I would say, about new build. Now, if you have a lot of money, might not be, hire whoever you want and make it beautiful, that type of thing. But for the average buyer, that's probably a con, right? So the pro to existing would be that existing neighborhood, bigger trees, like, having
mature landscaping.
Mature landscaping, all of that can be really great when things are established and everything. Okay. So that's, I would say, a pro. And also getting a home more in a desirable area you want, because as you know, land is becoming less and less. And so you're getting pushed way out by the lake, or you know what I mean, or clear out north.
Especially in Utah, we're kind of running out of land, right?
Yeah, right.
As far as where people want to live.
Exactly. So I think ideal locations sometimes could be hard. You pay a lot for premium locations. Yeah. So again, pros to existing home: landscaping's done, a neighborhood you want, an area you might want. There's just like establishment, like having restaurants and different things around you, like that all comes later in new builds, right?
Yeah.
So, and those areas that are developing right now. So, I would say the pro right now for building these are the things. One, brand new. And there's a 1-year warranty on everything, right? Structural, everything. So you can have that. I can't tell you how many clients, they buy a home and they have a home warranty and everything, but they're disappointed because the water heater went out 2 weeks after. Right. Yes, the home warranty will cover it, but it still sucks to have a foot of water in your basement. You know what I mean? Like, and we can't predict that. We don't know. Yeah. So there's things that, there's existing issues that you're going to walk into on an existing home. That could be a con. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
The other thing, so a pro for that is brand new. I know you're not going to love this one, but the pro is right now, builders are buying down interest rates and we're seeing way lower interest rates.
Hey, you know what? I get it, because as a lender, sometimes I try to compete with them and they're like, hey, we have this sweetheart deal where you have like negative 80 million% interest rate. I'm exaggerating, obviously.
Yeah.
And we can't touch that because, it's kind of baked into their price a little bit. They have a sweetheart deal with the lender. If it helps you get into a better home, like, awesome, I will encourage that. I get it. Like, it's so much more about you getting what you want and getting it for a good deal with an affordable payment. That is more important to me. Yes, I lose business on that, but that's fine. Like, if
sometimes
you find
you
a great
can't compete.
New home, and it's a great interest rate and you get there, great, go for it. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just can't compete.
Yeah.
And also, like you've even said this, sometimes that's baked into the purchase price, but also it's about expectations. If you're already purchasing the price and you feel okay with it and you like the product you're getting and it's baked in there, you're not going to be able to compete with that.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's just how it is. But so that's another thing, the interest rates and a lot of big builders, they have billions of dollars literally, and they're buying down those interest rates because they just need the products to move.
Yeah,
right?
a builder, from what I know from an accountant standpoint, and I have several builder clients, they would rather have that house sold and off of the books. So at their next quarterly meeting, he said, yeah, we sold all these. And as a part of that, they would rather keep the price of the house high, because chances are they're building entire neighborhoods or entire subdivisions. And if one sells for a lower price, that will affect the appraisal for the next one they're trying to sell. And the appraiser walks in and say, oh, this house sold for, $50,000 less. Hey, can the builder throw a bunch of money at the interest rate instead to lower the monthly payments? That's a thing.
And that brings me into the next advantage of purchasing a home that's brand new versus existing is, like you said, that equity goes up quick on the first few years that you own a home because they're building and they're adding more price. They're building, they're adding more price, right?
Yeah, that's a
So,
good point.
and so that equity does a quick like up jump on equity, like faster than something that's existing. They've already gone through their new build process. They've already had their spike in equity there. And so you're more on the average trajectory of increase instead of going that spike of a new neighborhood. So that is a good point too. So that's another pro, I think, for building versus existing.
Yeah, and it's all a balance too. Like we said, with the land being somewhere, the new builds are happening that they're kind of far away from 15 for the most part.
Right.
And so commuting time is usually going to go up, at least in Utah. I mean, areas around the country, obviously, it's going to be a different story. But generally speaking, your job is going to be a little closer to an existing home than it is a new build.
Right.
For example, I think a lot of stuff's happening in Eagle Mountain, a lot of new builds there. That's 30 minutes from anywhere.
Right, because, and that's what I was talking about, the infrastructure, like having places to go shopping and doing things. They didn't have the infrastructure for the way that increased. And what did that cause? It's caused major traffic issues. Like you hear people who live up there and they're all complaining about it because
But the home prices were lower.
Like so much lower.
Yeah.
And also they've taken a higher jump and they've gotten good equity out of those.
As the infrastructure builds out,
yeah, as the infrastructure builds out, but also they're having to commute an hour,
Yeah.
So, I mean, the pros and cons. What are you willing to live with? What are you not willing to live with? That's the thing. But I would like to say too, like whether you're doing brand new or existing, the most important thing is to make sure the home is healthy and good and a good investment.
Yeah.
And some builders are not great builders. They're not all created equal either.
They don't build them like they used to, in other words?
No. So you want to make sure you have a good real estate professional. When you're working with an agent that works for the builder, they're employed by the builder. Yes, they're advocating for you somewhat, but they're always going to default to what the builder says. Sorry, the builder says this, the builder says that. Yeah. And if you don't have a professional on your side, then you might not know how we could push back. We've done that before too. And we're like, nope, we're pushing back here. You're pushing too far, and we can help our clients save money. So that's one of the things that you need to think about. And also, when you're buying a new home, we want to do home inspections, right? Even I know people don't, this is exactly what a builder agent will say to you. Well, you don't need a home inspection. You know why? We have 4 ways done. They have to get passed off, and all of this.
Engineers.
Yes, and you've got a 1-year warranty on anything structural, so you don't need to have that. And I always push back on that as an agent, and I'll tell you why. I had a client, I did push back, and they kept fighting me on getting our inspector in there, and he's like, "You don't need this. It's all going to be taken care of, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, I have the right to have an inspector here for my clients. And they kept, well, okay, he has to give me his licensing. They had him jump through so many hoops. But we got him there, and guess what?
He found stuff.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but a major issue. There was pipes that weren't connected, the drain pipe from the bathtub that wasn't even connected. And he found that. And that was all taken care of before my clients moved in. Can you imagine if you flood out your house the first day you're there? Like how annoying.
Claim on the warranty.
Right. And
more than that, annoying for the people who live there. Like,
I was just going to say, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. It's going to get taken care of either way. And they're 100% right when they say that. And also, do you want to deal with that? Let's just know. And then there's the issues that my builder finds that are small that won't manifest for 10 years.
Yeah.
But you only have a warranty for 1 year. That's why they don't want you looking at those things, because then they're going to have to fix it.
So, to your point too, I've heard too that you generally want to have 2 inspections on a new build. One before the drywall is up.
Yes.
And so you can see the electric, the pipes, everything that's behind the walls, because that's pretty dang important.
Right.
And then you got to do your final walkthrough before you close.
Right.
Get out your roll of blue tape. Right.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's something like we have those with the builder, and then also we get a private third-party person that comes in and does a thorough inspection of everything. So, and sometimes when we do our four-way, Darren and I we've been to enough of these that we can tell when things are off, and we'll tell our clients, hey, we think you need to get an inspector over for the four-way, and let's get a private person. And because we can see that there's some issues, and then we can call it out and have a professional do that. So that's another thing that's important to remember is just because it's new doesn't mean that it's in perfect shape. And that's why you want professionals helping you, making sure they're advocating for you. The other thought, radon. Nobody thinks about that with a brand new home because they don't realize
think everything's perfect with a brand new home. Why would anything? But radon isn't specific, has nothing to do with whether it's new or not.
Right, exactly. Radon, it's an environmental thing. It's just pockets of gas that's toxic in our ground, and if you hit a pocket of gas, it will be in your house, and it can be mitigated super easily. But if you don't know, it's odorless, you're not going to know, and you could get cancer for that. And that's hard, but so that's something, so we're making sure homes are healthy. And I think that's really important to remember. Just because it's new doesn't mean that it's safe. And so that's why we have to do inspections. So on that sense, it's not better. And I guess when you're saying, existing versus new, that's something you want to do for both, but you wouldn't think about it with the new.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, it's really nice to have an experienced agent who has worked with a lot of builders, because you probably know, and we're not going to name names obviously, but you probably know some who are a little on the lower quality scale of things and those who are on the higher quality scale of things. And so you can kind of sniff them out, and your experience is so invaluable for that.
Right. And then at least you go into it educated. Yeah. I have a client who they're like, again, we're not going to name builders, but this builder gets really good prime areas, but they do a crappy job building. And so that person's like, I'm so conflicted because I really want to live in this area.
Yeah.
But also there's nobody else building in this area, right? So then it's like, okay, well, let's go with that. But you know what? I know how to work with this builder. I've worked with them before. I know what we have to do. We know what to watch for. So you're right. There is relationships. And also we have relationships with really great builders, and we have great relationships with them. And sometimes we get a little bit preference treatment because you're coming in, you're a one-time buyer, maybe 2 times. Maybe you'll sell a home and buy another one with them.
Sure.
I come in and I'm bringing how many buyers a month? They're going to want to take good care of me as an agent because I bring them business, right?
I've taught CE classes at builders and model homes to bring agents into them. Like, they want to cater to real estate agents.
Absolutely. And so that's something to think about too, is like you get a little better treatment, plus they advocate for you, plus, those are the things to think about when you're thinking new. And then existing, again, we're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure it's healthy. We're going to make sure we get disclosures on the background. If somebody doesn't disclose and we figure that out, we're going to help you navigate what the consequences of that is. There's a lot of things. So we help you and we protect you. And it's not just when you're under contract and close. I have clients that call me a year, 2 years later. The other night I had a client call me, and she's so amazing and wonderful, and I love her. And it was 10:30, and she called me twice. And so I was like, that's weird. I'm going to pick up the phone. And she picks up the phone, and immediately I hear the alarm just blaring. And she's like, we didn't ever set up this alarm because it was supposed to be disconnected. And for whatever reason, it's going off right now, and I can't disconnect it. And I was able to help her with that, and so we're always there to help.
One thing I know that usually great agents like yourself are really well connected in the home services. Like, I know you have plumbers in your pocket, roofers, drywallers, just all around handymen, flooring. Like, you have all those connections. So if someone's buying a house from you, like, hey, they also are buying when they do business with you. You're doing business with their network too, and you have people you've trusted and you've used and you've seen before do things, and that's underrated. I think that's awesome.
Right, and then you don't have to do the homework, and we've worked really hard to make sure they're good and they're going to do what they say. And again, if I send them as my personal reference, I'm giving them 20, 30 deals, and you're giving them one, but you're a reference of mine. They're going to take good care of you because they don't want me calling and saying, hey, I heard you treated Dan really poorly, and I'm really frustrated by that. They don't want that. So they're going to treat you a little better too. you know.
One of my clients who does a lot of Airbnb stuff, he hooked me up with his hot tub guy, and his hot tub guy is giving me like 25% off. It's awesome. Like, that's just how networks work.
Right.
And real estate agents, like, part of your job is to be super connected with people. And so that's a huge perk that people need to pay attention to.
Right. And that's why when you're not all agents are created equal, you want agents, like interview them, like find out about that. Like, where do you stand on inspections? Like, what type of inspections do you do? If there's major issues that come up with the roof or the plumbing, do you have people who can help me? Those are great questions to ask an agent when you're trying to decide what agent to go with, because they're not all created equal. Now they have the potential to learn all this, but it's just maybe different stages.
Or they have a team behind them that has that, and that's
exactly,
that can be just as good sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm not bashing any of that. So to flip this back on you a little bit, I want to kind of take things from a lender point of view as well. Okay. So you tell me, like, when people are purchasing a home, and I know we've done some like different segments on this, but what are the key things you want people to think about as they're getting ready to purchase a home? We're talking about, existing and new builds, and we're talking about the whole process a realtor goes through. But I'll tell you right now, I don't take a person even out to look at one house until they've gotten pre-qualified.
Yeah, until they can prove they could pay for it.
Right. And there's a whole process with that too. And a lot of times too, like just last night, I was on a call with a client for an hour and a half. And her biggest concern was, I have a 1.75% interest rate. We get those kind of things too. So how do you manage expectations? What's a process people want to think about when they're moving and getting ready?
When they're moving from their current house, which may be a crazy low interest rate, into the next one.
Right. That's one. I mean, there's a couple of things we could talk about, right? So maybe that's what we kind of talk about here going forward. But like, what about when you're in a really, that's one of the biggest obstacles I'm facing right now with people when I talk to them.
The lock-in effect,
really want to move, but I have a 1.75% interest rate.
You're not going to believe this, Chrissy, but I have a spreadsheet for that.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
So let's say you're in your starter home and you bought it and you're outgrowing it, realistically, right? Maybe you bought your starter home, you're having kids. You've got a better job, you're progressing in your career. Like, man, I'd love to buy a house, but man, once I run the numbers, I feel like that's such a huge jump in my house payment. Why would that make sense? Well, there's a couple things in there. My spreadsheet will show you why, if you buy a lower house price, keep the one you're staying in a low interest rate versus, hey, I want to upgrade, but it's going to be a higher interest rate. The point of that, the math I'm doing there, is to show you it's a net wealth thing. Like, your payment's going to be higher. But if you have a $300,000 house appreciating at 5% versus a $700,000 house appreciating at 5%, at some point your net wealth is going to be higher if you live in that $700,000 house longer. And I can run all that math based on current interest rate versus today's interest rate and where that intersects. And sometimes it is like it'll take a while to get there. I get it. But at the same time, you have to understand what the real cost is for that. At some point on a balance sheet, right, on your net wealth, it will catch up. But what really matters is, hey, what does that cost for me to have this massively upgraded lifestyle? I need 2 more bedrooms because my kids are driving me nuts and these walls are too close together. It's too loud in here or whatever. My neighbors, I can high five them out the window if we do that, right?
Seriously.
And so sometimes the pain will outstrip that higher payment, but also you have to realize that net wealth effect of the appreciation of the equity gains in that higher dollar house, it might eclipse the downsides of the higher payment after given enough time. So,
and on the flip side of that, like, okay, so upgrading, I love what you said. Your house is worth $200,000. You buy a $500,000 home. Maybe you have some equity in there. You're taking a higher interest rate, but in the end, the growth will exceed the growth at a $100,000 home versus that, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, in debate, market forces. Let me get out my crystal ball, right?
I know, and I know, I get that. But theoretically, that's what the trends have shown in the past that predicts future, right? Yeah. So, okay, but the other thought too, and this just comes to me because last night I was having a conversation with a lady. She's ready to downgrade, right? Mm-hmm. But she's staying in this home because her payment is going to be the same. She feels like here versus here, but she's got less home here. And so she's worried about that. But I was thinking about it last night as I was talking to her, and I said, but will you? Because if your home is worth how much equity? She said she has about roughly 350,000 in equity.
Okay.
And she goes down, her loan might be only $100,000.
Yeah.
And so the interest rate might be higher, but the loan is so much lower. So does it work for you that way too?
Of course it could. And somebody who's downsizing, like an empty nester, I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I do.
You can use that $300,000 or $350,000 of equity. And if you're old enough, you can get a reverse mortgage, put that as your down payments, and you could not have a payment at all.
Right.
On that. And you could buy even like, depending on how old you are and rates at the time, something like a $500,000 house without having a required monthly payment. That's pretty great.
I know for people our age, reverse mortgage feels like a 4-letter word because our parents, some of our parents didn't have a great experience when they first came out,
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
But so now the people, and when I say our age, you're way younger than me. So really my age. So that was the case with our parent. Your parent, you got your parents in a reverse mortgage. It was a great deal, right?
Yeah.
So you're a little bit younger than me. But our parents, we saw that. And so I'm finding when I talk to who are becoming the empty nesters now, that's me, that's the age and older, they're nervous about it because their parents were taken advantage of. So I know we can't riff on this for too super long, but tell what's different and why they need to at least research it and give themselves that opportunity.
Oh man, I have to start with this analogy, and I know I've told you this before, but you can act like the first time you've heard it. What color is a yield sign?
Yellow.
See, I mean, maybe you don't remember our conversation. When you first learned about yield signs, they probably were yellow.
Oh.
Back in 1974, 70, I don't know. In the 70s was when they converted to red and white. In the 1970s.
No way, because I was born in the 70s, but you know what? It's probably because I was going off of old data. When I was a kid, you retain what you learn as a kid, and I saw the pictures of the yellow.
I hear people my age, and I took driver's ed long before, after they were yellow, still say they were yellow, just because maybe their parents taught them that, whatever. Somehow they saw, when their brains first learned about yield signs, they were yellow. And they haven't updated them since, because humans are creatures of efficiency. When we learn about something, we recognize patterns. Okay, reverse mortgages are bad. They're always bad. Let's move on with our lives. So that's where I'm going with the yield sign. They have massively changed for the better in so many different ways. I call them the financial ugly duckling because they were always seen as something that they quite weren't. But on top of that, they've improved massively. For example, in 2009, they made some huge buyer protections in there to where a third party asks, does an interview with them saying, hey, do you really understand what you're buying here? From a complete third party, not affiliated, we're not even allowed to tell them who to call for that. Second of all, in 2014, there were some major spouse protections too. It used to be that you could have a spouse on who you would leave off of the loan for somebody who is older, because you can get more money out if you're older and you get the loan yourself.
Right.
Now you can't really do that. There's extra protections in for the spouse. So it used to be every once in a while you hear a story about, hey, grandma got kicked out of her house because they had a reverse mortgage. That wasn't the full story. They had maybe it's usually the male that dies first. And so I'm just going to use that for example.
Right.
Maybe grandpa died, and because grandma wasn't affiliated with that loan, the loan became due right then, and she had to pay that or move out. So grandma got kicked out of her house. After 2014, that is no longer possible.
Okay.
So you can have it. I mean, you lend money based on the ages of the spouse, and we'll get into that later if we want to do a podcast on that, I guess. But so many more protections on that. They capped the commissions on loan officers, so you couldn't have somebody unscrupulous go in and sell them and make a bunch of commission and ride off into the sunset. Man, they're so much better than they used to be. I'm also, as a teaser, I'm going to save my parents probably $80,000 or $90,000 in taxes, because we're going to do a cool move with that.
People don't realize they can use those reverse mortgages to help with taxes, which you opened my mind to that. That was incredible. So that's a whole nother, we'll just do that later. So stay tuned. You guys are going to have to hear that later. So yeah, I know for me, my financial advisor, when we sat down, because again, I'm an empty nester, things are changing. We're looking at, I can't believe it, like probably retiring in a decade, right? Like that's going to go by like that. So I'm having to really think about what I'm doing and be more strategic about it. And he has built in my plan. He doesn't even give me the chance to think about it. He's like, at this age, you're going to reverse your mortgage.
Ah, I got to
Period.
meet this guy.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he's
I love it.
awesome. He's awesome.
Cool.
So I think that's important too. So keep your minds open because this is how you're making, because a home is an investment. People see it as a debt. I remember having a conversation with one of my family members and he kept saying, I don't believe in debt. I don't believe in debt. And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not a debt, it's an investment.
The wealthiest people in the world use
Yeah.
debt massively to multiply their wealth.
Right. Exactly.
You can use debt irresponsibly for dang sure. I'm not saying go out and run up your credit card,
Right.
or even run up your reverse mortgage. It's like fire, I think.
Right.
It can be used really irresponsibly to destroy a lot of things, but if you use it responsibly, you can do some powerful things like drive your car around.
Right. Right. So that's the important thing too. I would say one advantage of coming to you as a lender, because you're a CPA and you think about these things a little differently, you're going to help them understand tax advantages. You're going to help them understand how to invest better. You're going to help them understand, like, okay, a first-time home buyer buys this home. You're going to help them go, this is great. You're here. Now, what are your objectives for the future and investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the things that I don't think people think about when they're purchasing a home. They're just excited to get into home. But my great niece just got married and her husband just got accepted on a house.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, and you guys are doing the loan for him. That's
right,
awesome. Yeah. But anyhow, she one of the things I was telling them, they are young. They're 20 years old and they're getting in their first home.
That
and
equity is going to do so much for them.
I know, that's what I told them. I'm like, you guys don't even realize that you're setting yourself up financially for the rest of your life by making this purchase right now. And I mean, I was 25 and it's been a game changer for me. It helped us through unemployment. It's helped us through there. It's been a great thing. So that's something else that I want people to understand. You're investing in a home. It is going to work for you, not against you, if you do it right.
And I hear a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, it says, don't treat your home like an investment. Like, I get it. And ideally, honestly, like my house is here to increase the quality of my life. Like that's what money is for.
Right.
At the same time, it's still going to act like an investment, whether you treat it like one or not.
Right. That's a good point. That's really good. So Dan, I mean, I think we've got so much that we've been talking about. There's a lot for people to think about: investments, what kind of home to purchase, all of that. I don't know about you. I do know about you, actually. You love helping people. I love helping people. And I can honestly say to you guys, if you call us or text us, we're going to take the time to answer your questions. And we are not pushy people. We will wait as long as it takes. But knowledge is power. Right?
Yeah, and we're educators at heart. Like we just want people to make not only the right decisions, but feel confident that they're making the right decisions too, whatever that decision is.
100%. So here's what I want you to do. If you have any questions at all, no obligations, totally free, give us a call or text us, and the number is going to show up on the screen, and we would love to help you any way we can.